So last night I was out of the Park Avenue Ultra, embarrassing much more expensive cars, as you do, and there's no doubt about the engine's power. It is too much for the OEM motor mounts. That motor mount that I just put in, well, I guess is a trans mount, but the trans mount I put in just 2 weeks ago has already torn. I also, apparently when I was removing the air box, bumped the hose that goes to the coolant overflow tank, and now that leaks. So the car needs a bit more maintenance and a lot of other stuff besides. But instead of doing anything like that, instead, we're putting a radio into it. 'Cause radio. So Atoto recently sent me this, and if that name sounds familiar to you, they make Android-based head units. And I've been thinking for a while, I really want torque in my dashboard. And then they offered me this. So the timing on that really worked out. This is their flagship S8 model. It's got an Intel processor and a whole bunch of features that we'll get into later. But first, we need to build the wiring harness, get it installed in the car, and actually take a look at this thing. I haven't opened it. Let's, I opened the box and looked in here, and there is another box. So we'll go from there. First thing we got, and let me mention, that's a heavy box that radio's in. First thing here, little white box, whole bunch of cables in it. We've got the main wiring harness bundle, which, wow, there's a lot of stuff there. It's pretty nicely labeled, actually. You've got different languages on the tags. That's all pretty nice. USB breakout cable. I believe one of these is for, Android Auto or CarPlay, and one of them is for like plugging in a flash drive full of music. That's kind of neat. Camera. I'm gonna guess that's GPS. That one is a Wi-Fi antenna. Oh, the obligatory microphone, some screws, some brackets, a manual. Oh, let's take a look at the manual here. There's usually something funny in these manuals. Now, usually the word Chinese head unit is kind of a four-letter word among audio people, but Atoto is kind of like the most on-brand that you can get. Like they've got a pretty decent community, and their support, I hear, is second to none basically. Quite a few of my friends have their lower end stuff and they're pretty happy with it, so I'm fairly confident that this is going to work all right for me. That's actually a really no joke, this is a decent manual. Like, there's no weird poorly translated English or anything. And this didn't come from overseas either. This was in an Amazon warehouse in the US. It got to me in 2 days. And it's got CarPlay and Android Auto, and I believe it even supports wireless if you want. You've got a few different languages in here. I've had actual name brand, and by name brand I mean like JVC Kenwood or Sony head units with way worse manuals than this. And I actually, I'm going to be comparing this to the JVC Kenwood CarPlay head unit that is in my Mazda Miata, because it is around the same price point. And just looking at the spec sheet, I can tell that if this thing lives up to its spec sheet, it's going to be much, much better. 10-inch display. Oh. I was looking at the wrong one online. That is well packed. So I usually, these Android Auto head units and stuff, it's a double din. It's a box that you stick in your car in the dashboard. This, look at that! This is the 10-inch model. This really is their flagship. Wow. This is a hefty thing. This is not just empty air. So we've got all the standard mounting points. Wow, does the screen come off? I'll have to read the manual. I sure hope the screen comes off, or fitting this in the dashboard is going to be a trick. You've got an absurd amount of inputs on the back. Video inputs, outputs, Wi-Fi, all your antennas, USB, the main harness, GPS mic, an IR repeater. You've got SD, USB, aux on the side. Anything on this side? No. And then you've got the display. Nice clicky buttons. We'll get into the features and stuff later. Right now I just want to get this installed. So what I mean when I say making the main wiring harness is I'm referring to this thing. This is the big ISO plug full of many fun colors of wires that needs to be joined to the accompanying, this is a Metra install kit. this plugs into the car itself, and this is so you don't have to hack into your wiring. It's completely reversible and all that fun stuff. And a toddler could do this. It's just matching colors. So let me open this up. Make sure that you cut through the entire wiring harness when you open the package. So all this really comes down to is I've got these bundles of wires coming out of each of these wiring harnesses, and I just have to match up the colors because they are pretty much standardized. Can I unwrap this? Your front right negative is gray with a black stripe. Here on the other side, I have a corresponding gray with a black stripe. And to attach these, you just touch them together and then you just wrap them in electrical tape. No, wait, that's how like the last 6 cars I've owned have been. What we're actually going to do is we're going to use crimps and also heat shrink and also a crimper. So let's get started. So before I forget, because I know I will, the first thing that I want to do is I want to take a piece of heat shrink and put one on every single one of these wires so that I can slide it up and nicely insulate my connection later. This will just make sure that there are no shorts or issues later on with the connection, and in combination with these crimps, it's pretty much the most indestructible, trouble-free connection that you can ever have. Like, these crimps are super easy to use, super difficult to mess up, and pretty much guaranteed to give you a good time. There is a little bit of a initial investment with getting the crimps and the crimper, but it really isn't that much more than some entry-level soldering gear, so it's definitely something you should just throw into your toolbox. They're just so much better than butt connectors and easier to use in tight spaces. Cannot recommend enough. So now I've got every single wire with heat shrink on it. Now I just start matching up the colors, and I'm probably going to start off with the yellow, the red, and the blue, since those are kind of separate here. These are kind of stripped a little bit further back than I would prefer. Yeah, I might cut off the excess. We'll see here. So we're just going to splice these together, and what we're going to use for that is this guy here. Now, these crimps are really nice because they include a built-in strain relief. There's each one of these little ridges here folds like this to grab onto the wire. These inner ones are going to be grabbing onto the bare metal, but these outer ones grab onto the insulation itself and kind of provide a built-in strain relief. So I'm just going to load this. I can't see it if I do it that way. I'm just going to load this into my crimper, and then I just stick one end of the wire in, and I'm sticking it in, you can see the wire going in, and I'm going to go a little bit past that so that there is a bit of the insulation in there, and then I just clamp it down and pull it out, and now that's one side crimped, and you can see there the insulation goes to right here. That is held down by those two, I guess you call them wings. These two wings are clamping down on the copper, and these are still open because now I load this in again, and then I can go into wherever I'm at. This is really handy if you're working in kind of a closed space and you don't want to get heat on adjacent components from like a soldering iron. I'm just going to stick my other wire in. I should probably twist that so I don't get strandies everywhere. In it goes. Ugh. Yeah, that's kind of the downside of the extra long. I've got a bit of excess there that's sort of sticking out, but that's still a good connection. And now the heat shrink just goes right over that, and that is going to be pretty much indestructible. So now I just repeat that for every single one of these colors, but that's super tedious. So I'm going to do that off camera, and when I'm back, we'll do the really fun part, which is heat shrink. Think of the part that plugs into the car itself as sort of the primary. This is the one that determines what features your radio is going to have. This harness has a whole bunch of additional features that are not actually present in the wiring harness for my Buick, like a reverse sensor and stuff like that, or this, steering wheel audio adapter. So I'm starting off by just crimping on all the crimps to this primary side, and then I'll crimp them onto the secondary side, and we'll just kind of wrap up any wires that aren't going to be used so that they don't short out, cause issues, that sort of thing. All right. That is all of the relevant wires nice and hooked up and nice in a bundle. All of the unused wires here I just cut flush and then loop them back around on each other and zip tie them to the harness. So now we have I probably should have cut some length out of this, to be honest. But now, let's just... there we go. Nice and snug. I actually used the right size heat shrink for once. Let's just slide all these over, and then I will grab a source of heat. Nice, small, still reasonably flexible connections, very durable. This next part's optional, but I'm gonna go try and find some cloth electrical tape to wrap this in, just so that it's kind of, it doesn't rattle around in the dashboard. You know, this wiring can still make some noises when it hits on the plastic in there, so, and that's also just gonna make it look a little bit tidier and nicer, so I'm gonna go see if I can find that. And here's the finished harness. It's nice and low profile, fairly flexible, shouldn't make any noise when it rattles around. Now I just gotta put it in the car. All right. There it is. Now, from what I can tell, this whole interior basically just snaps together like Legos. It also has lights in here so you can see me better. So this is gonna have to come out, and it just pops out somehow. Yeah, literally just out. Okay, I'm actually just gonna leave that hooked up and dangling because I don't feel like undoing all of those connectors. It's just, yeah, metal clips holding it all in. And over here on this side, I have to do the same thing. Sort of get a finger in there and work it out. Maybe 2 fingers, because I think I need 2 hands to do this. These end pieces have this interesting little connection here, so you just kind of come out like this. And then this one, let's see. Yeah, out it comes. And put you over there. And then comes Mr. What size is this? 7mm. And I undo this nut right here, which is pretty much the only fastener holding this dash panel on, which is kind of hilarious. Now is the fun part, because I actually have to turn the car on. I'm going to set the parking brake, which I've never done before in this car. Hopefully it works properly. It seems to. Alright, then I'm going to put this in first. I'm just going to... Oh, how do I make you shut up? I don't. Okay, that is the answer. Now I just kind of work this out of here. I think it comes out top first. So this connector right here is just to pick right in there, pry that a little bit, and it'll come right out. And there's the same thing down right there for the internal temperature sensor, but I'm gonna need all my hands for those, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've got all those disconnected. Whole dashboard piece here can go sit there. I can put this thing back in park, turn off the key. Now, I believe I will need my 7mm again. Hey, look at that, they used the same fastener twice. GM, good job. So let's undo our factory radio here. Well, that is a quite large cavity in the dashboard of my car. And then here sits the old radio. Yay. So one of the best features of these radios is that when you push the volume button here on the steering wheel, it doesn't just digitally increase the volume, it actually moves the knob. Unfortunately, that never worked on this car. And I'm not sure if that's because the steering wheel control was bad or the motor in here was bad. Unfortunately, without the steering wheel control adapter, I will never know. Alright, so I went and gave it a test. I plugged in the wiring harness, so let's see if this thing works. Just gonna turn the car on. Let's see. Oh. Ooh. That's really responsive, actually. This is running an older version of Android, but they've really, really well optimized it for this. Does it make noise? How do I radio? Radio. Yes. There is noise coming out of the speakers, so I didn't mess any of that up. Really, this is one of the better interfaces I've seen for one of these Ooh, it beeps every time I touch it. I gotta turn that off. Ah, there we go. Don't need any of that. Audio setup, what do we got? Oh, that's so nice. Look at all that equalizer I get. Ah, that's amazing. Once I get my 6x9s back in the back here, I will be able to set this thing up perfectly. Ah, no more beeping when I do that. Okay, so anyway, it works. So now we need to actually install it, which means I need to go grab my install kit, which is somewhere on the world's messiest desk. Look at that desk workbench. Look at that nonsense. You guys need to really motivate me to clean that up. Roast me in the comments for my dirty workspace. Well, I was right. The display section does come off. Just 3 screws on the top and it slides right out. And there's not even a cable. It's just a little ZIF connector in there. I gotta say I'm impressed. The build quality and just the care that went into this. And like these instructions, no joke. Amazing. So let's get this. Oh no. Okay, so next step is I gotta get the actual mounting kit, and I have a whole bunch of wires to run. There's a Wi-Fi antenna that needs to go somewhere, a GPS antenna that needs to go somewhere, a microphone that needs to go somewhere, and a USB cable that needs to go somewhere. So there's a lot of stuff that I need to run through this dash somewhere unobtrusive. Ugh, that's gonna be a tough one. Okay, let's get to it. So here's where we're at. It's been an hour or two. I've got the radio base part mounted in here. I've got most of the cables run, all the antennas and stuff are in their place. I've got one of the USB for Android Auto and CarPlay right here, and then the microphone is just kind of dangling at the moment because I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to end up squaring that away at. But for now, I'm going to put the main dash panel back on and yeah, see if I can actually make the screen fit here, because here's the thing. The screen goes in, and then screws have to go in the top afterwards. You may have noticed something blocking the top. So that's going to be quite the magic trick to get this thing put back together, and then the screen does foul a little bit right here on the dash, so we'll have to rectify all that. Well, I'd call that more or less in. Let's do the plastic peel. It's always the most satisfying part. This may not be quite as satisfying as possible because I've got to use 2 hands for it. Oh my gosh. Suddenly, it's about a month later. I just finally got around to editing this video, and I was going to do the installation and the review of the unit as one video, but that would have been a solid 40 minutes long. So the actual overview of features and review of this Toto head unit is going to be in the next video. It's going to be a two video thing here. I just wanted to show how I actually got those screws in there. They're in the top. They go in right here in the top, and I basically just took a magnetic bit, took the bit out of the screwdriver, and I just one finger from each side in the back just kind of got it screwed in there, but it's in solid. I'm gonna call that installed with one little gotcha. First off, I did not have the right adapter for the radio antenna, so that's not there yet, and I also don't have the steering wheel button functionality, not because of any fault with this head unit, just because Metra did not put those wires in the wiring harness. And the reason for that is I looked at some wiring diagrams, and literally every car that used this radio had the remote controls in a different pin for some reason. So I have no idea why that is, but that's why Metra didn't put it in the wiring harness. So I'll have to rectify that a little bit later. But there it is, it's installed, it looks great. I'll give you more of my impressions in the next video, but I do actually really like this thing. I've been very interested about this brand for a while, so when I got the chance to review one, I was pretty excited about it. I absolutely love these sort of, diamond in the rough products. I got some Knowledge Zenith earbuds that I absolutely love. They're like $20 Chinese earbuds that most people probably wouldn't get a second look to, but they sound absolutely phenomenal. This is kind of like that. That's how to install this enormous screen in your 2003 Buick Park Avenue Ultra. Check the description below for Toto's Amazon site and a link to this directly. I don't get a commission or anything based off of this. I don't accept that sort of thing. Also in the description is a link to the Metro wiring harness and dash kit that I used for this, as well as the crimper and crimps in case you want to use those for your own install. Thanks for watching.